Okay, so everyone knows that the U.S. is a huge supporter of Israel, and we fund them with military aid and money and things like that. And we also fund many other different countries with aid and stuff like that. The thing is, though, is that Israel is the only country that America gives financial funding to that is not required to document what they use that funding on. So therefore, Israel could be using their money for anything that they want, and we don't know about it. So American taxpayers' money is going to Israel, building, God knows what they're building, like helping to them build the Parthian wall bigger, or helping them to build bigger bombs and things like that so they can blow up more innocent Palestinian civilians. And yes, I mean, like, some of the money that Israel does use is going to good things, but the fact is that it's not documented, and that the United States doesn't require them to document it. And with every other country that there is, we demand strict specifications. The small amount of aid that America does give to the Palestinians is completely, everything has to be completely documented. There's very strict regulations on what they can spend it on. They're giving no defense aid, no military aid at all. It's all economic, any of the aid that they're given. The majority of the aid that is given to Israel is all for defense. It's all military aid, which is in a sense kind of ironic because Israel has one of the strongest arms divisions in the world. Like, they produce a mass quantity of arms and distribute them. They're ninth out of all of the places in the world. Also, the fact that we even give Israel any economic aid is just bullshit, because they have some of the highest capitas per income. It's equal to Spain and South Korea with how much people make there. I mean, like, they're not in trouble with economic wealth. Like, they are doing fine, and yet we still give them aid. We give average of $3 billion per year to Israel. Israel receives 1/3 of America's entire foreign aid budget. Israel, the small country of Israel, you know, that's more than Africa, that's more than Asia, that's more than any of these other countries. They're doing way worse off than Israel is, and yet we still give all of our money to Israel. I'm not quite sure why, but it's just bullshit. We have given Israel $3 billion for the past 25 years in aid. We've given them over $100 billion total, and yet we still keep giving them money. Like, they don't need it. They're doing fine, and we have so many things. And the fact that America doesn't even give the Palestinians anything. On average, America gives Israel $6.8 million per day, and what they give to the Palestinians is $0.003 million per day. And so, like, that doesn't total up. Yeah, okay. America needs to stop funding Israel so much money and let them find their own money or do their own battles, you know, like, the fact that we give Israel so much more money than we give to anyone else is just ridiculous, considering the fact that they don't need it. But we want to support the fact of their Jewish state, and we want to, make sure that they're okay. And yeah, okay, obviously Israel's doing fine. Israel is not in any trouble at all. I mean, they should be, because of everything that they violated, but we give so much money to the Israelis and we give nothing to the Palestinians, and we do nothing to help them, and it's beyond me as to why. From the research that I have conducted, I have come to the conclusion that America funds Israel in a way that is illegal. The U.S. policy states that all aid must be documented, and Israel is not required to document that their aid. And they also have more military, stronger weapons, everything like that, and they just keep building it and building it and building it against the Palestinians. Which, yeah, what are the Palestinians going to do? Like, blow them up with their grenade launchers from the 1970s versus Israel, like they have F-16 fighter planes and things like that they all get from the U.S., that they get, well, they make it there in Israel, but they get the money to make it from the U.S. So U.S. aid to Israel needs to stop. It needs to stop completely. And someone needs to start funding the Palestinians a little bit more and give them a little bit of something to work with. Because right now the Palestinians, like, oh yeah, they're such a threat to Israel. They're not a threat. They would be a threat to Israel if they had actually something that was a little bit more threatening. I mean, Israel could straight up own the Palestinians anytime that they wanted to, and yet we're still funding Israel so that they can be stronger than the Palestinians. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all.